Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Fine.
Haven't been on Zoom in so long.
I know I was, looking at it, making sure I had all my tools up.
Right. And of course, everything changes just a little bit, right? Just enough to make it challenging. What school are you at?
I'm at Snowden Farm
Okay.
Elementary, and I saw the 3D pens because I was actually looking on Demco, purchasing some 3D pens for my makerspace area and doing things with more fourth and fifth. So I thought, oh, so I
Oh, awesome.
check it
That's
out.
great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got my hands on a bunch, I guess about 6 months ago and really love them. So just hoping to share that with anyone who's willing to listen.
Yeah,
What's your position?
I'm the media specialist at Snowden Farm
Awesome. And that's a new school, right? Newish.
in Clarksburg.
Cool.
Yeah, we opened in 2019, so this will be our first normal year.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. You were open and then what, you had like half a year or three-quarters of a year and then gotcha. Gotcha. So it is nice. I don't know about you, but this year feels pretty normal to me. So
Yeah.
that's good. I was just trying to log into two devices and it wouldn't let me. So oh, Zoom. What kind of 3D pens were you looking for?
I mean, I don't know the brand. It was just on Demco and they
Gotcha.
came in a pack, I think a pack of six or something. And then,
Okay.
and
Yeah, the ones we have are these three Doodler starts or Start Plus.
oh, okay.
Um, they're pretty neat. So
What school are you at?
I'm at Joanne Lelick Elementary School. Used to
Okay.
be called Broad Acres. Now it's Joanne Lelick at Broad Acres.
Yeah.
I'm a math instructional support teacher. So
Okay.
pull groups in math, do some co-teaching for grades 4 and 5. And how long have you been at Snowden Farm?
Since it opened in 2019.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposedly getting a new buildings at some point in the next few years, so
Oh, that's
we're
nice.
excited for that. Yeah. Did you go to the keynote?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't either.
Can I put this link in the chat? This is what I was looking at. That's what I was looking at. So I'm not sure if that's the same one that you.
Oh, awesome. It's the same brand. Um, those might be a little bit more advanced than the ones I have,
Uh-huh.
but same idea. I
Yeah.
actually have come close to just buying one of those to play around with. Um, so if you get your hands on those, let me know how you like them.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put the slides in the chat. That's great, though. Is that website or that store good?
Demco, yeah, it's where I get a lot of my library supplies.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else do you have in that maker space?
We have a few building block type of activities, art activities, craft activities, circuits, building circuits.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to try to get more
Good morning.
STEM now. I'm trying to go towards more STEM activities.
Yeah, the kids must really like that and
Yeah,
gravitate towards it. That's awesome. Good morning, everybody. We'll get started in a few minutes at 9:30. I'm excited to see you here. Amy and I were just talking about how we haven't been on Zoom in a while, but should be a nice morning. So thank you for coming. And we'll get started at 9:30 or a minute or two after. All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. I'm excited today to talk about something that I'm passionate about and that I have experimented with in my school in the past few months, and that's 3D pens. My name is Matthew Wells. I am a math instructional support teacher at Joanne Lellick Elementary School at Broad Acres. I work mostly with 4th and 5th grade, but have worked with other ages at various points in time. So if at any point you have a question, you could just unmute yourself or send me a chat. If at any point seems like I'm supposed to be sharing my screen and I'm not, just give me a shout. Kind of forgot how to do this on Zoom, and that's probably a little bit of a good thing. So thanks again for coming. And I'm looking forward to learning with you. So our conditions for success, if you can, keep your camera on. Please mute unless talking. Originally, I was going to have 2 devices, but I had some kind of issue this morning getting on with my Chromebook. So just chat me here. Be willing to experiment with new ideas, take responsibility for your learning, listen to learn, take risks, and be digitally responsible. And I took as many pictures as I can, and I looked into what I had on my phone, just to show you some of the things that the kids did at various points that I happen to have pictures of. So this was a 3rd grade lesson in the spring, and they were sorting quadrilaterals. So instead of just looking at them on the paper, we made them, and had a nice time doing it. So the way this is going to work, what our presentation is going to look like today is we're going to start with an icebreaker, which was what was your favorite assignment from elementary school. We're going to do a Padlet for that. And then I'm going to talk about kind of the background and how I wound up here. We're going to go over briefly how to use a 3D pen, some curriculum connections that I discovered working with them. And then we're going to break out into breakout rooms, and we can talk to each other about some ideas we have of how we could use them in our own classrooms with our own students. Then we're going to talk briefly about how you can get your hands on some of these. And at the end, we're going to do the Q&A, and there's a survey. But like I said before, if you have any questions, please just ask, and I'll try my best to answer them. And thank you again for coming. Oh, and then before we get started, we were lucky enough to get a donation of one 3D pen, a little kit. So I will put a link in the chat to just a Google form, and just type in your name, and we're going to have one lucky winner who can get started very soon. So let's enter the raffle here. And then what I'll do is I'll just do like a random website that picks a name for everyone at this session and everyone at the next session. So you can either scan that QR code or click on that link and get one for yourself. So our icebreaker is, what was your favorite assignment in elementary school, and why do you think you remember it so many years later? So I'm going to post a link to the Padlet, and you can see my response and a colleague of mine that I was testing this out with. So why don't you just type in your response there, what your favorite assignment was in elementary school, and why do you think you remember it so many years later?
Why am I not? Oh, never mind. I see it. It's not opening. Mine's just scrolling.
Uh-oh. Is anybody else having that problem? All right, so if you want to just put your response,
Nope, this is better than a 2-year-old now that I said it. It's working.
All right, maybe just reload if you're having that problem. So I'm just going to read them as they show up. I said my favorite assignment was making a diorama because it allowed me to be successful in a new way. I wasn't a great reader or artist, but when I did this, I felt like I was good at both. One of my colleagues said my favorite assignment was making a map of Pennsylvania with resources in 4th grade because I was able to draw, color, and visually apply what I had learned. My favorite assignment was doing a book report on Black Beauty with my friend in 4th grade. I remember it because we got to dress up as characters and I got to make a horse costume. These are pouring in, I love this. Wasn't an assignment, but our 5th grade teacher turned our classroom into events from the American Revolution. I remember it because we were a part of the historical events. Weirdly enough, we did an on-site history class and grave rubbings, creating an ecosystem because it was hands-on, and making a diorama of a scene from a book I read for a class. It was a great way to connect to what I was reading. These are great. We'll wait one more minute. Here we go. Researching the history of English in high school, I got to pick the topic and the format. I love that it was my choice. These sound great. I made a 3D diorama of Anne Frank's apartment, hands-on, and I love history. Awesome. Mine was making a diorama of a living area. I loved it because I got to use my hands and create something. Well, it sounds like everyone here is in the right place then. Does anyone want to comment about any kind of themes they noticed here? Just in our responses, like, I was just doing the math this morning and I left elementary school about 28 years ago and I still remember it well. My mom, in fact, still talks to me about dioramas. Anytime we see a shoebox, she's like, Matt, you can make a diorama here. But did anyone kind of notice a trend here that we could build on?
Yeah, we all liked making things. The
Yeah.
hands-on aspect.
Hands-on, making things. Like choice was in a couple of these. So that's great. And I think that's relevant to what we're going to do today. These, for most of us, probably the 3D pens and that kind of technology didn't really exist when we were in school. So it's nice that, so now we can keep those same ideas and just use different tools to get there. Oh, I'm just seeing in the chat, hands-on. Sorry, guys, I missed this. We made donuts in class and got to eat them. Fun and tasty. Oh, hands-on. Also, the art teacher in me notices the arts integration in a lot of these. UDL, very, very good. I agree with all that. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. I hope you enjoyed thinking about back when you were in school. I know I did. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? All right, so I'm kind of framing this with like the why, and kind of how we got here. So if you rewind back to December of 2020, we were on Zoom and I did like a getting to know you question every day with the students because it was hard to get to know them over Zoom. And the question was, what would you get if you had $100? If someone gave you $100, what would you buy? And the answers were kind of all over the place. But one kid said a 3D pen. And I sort of filed that away. I didn't know what it was. I'd heard of 3D printers and stuff like that. filed that away until we got back in the building, and we were going through those initial first few weeks, first few months of having everyone back and doing school the way we had, and got my hands on some pens and was really pleased with what I was seeing. So that's kind of like my why. And for the rest of today, we're going to talk a little bit about the how and the what. So these are just a couple more examples. On the left, we had some students, the task was to just create something that's special about them. And a boy made this bicycle here, which stands up on its own because he was really good at riding bicycles. And then the girl over here on the right-hand side made this heart ring that's on her pointer finger because she told us she's really sweet and she's good at making jewelry. So, so this is a 3D pen. You'll notice it's pretty simple technology. There's not much to it, but there's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. So it's technology, but it's screenless and it's wireless. So you don't have to deal with, 20 different Chromebooks at the same time or getting kids to type in a password or anything like that. And you do have to charge them, but the charge lasts quite a while. And I'm like okay with technology, and I can navigate my way around these and teach kids how to use them. So technology, innovative, but pretty simple. They're easy to use. Kids need a little bit of time to experiment with them. Teachers need a little bit of time. We need a little bit of time to experiment with them, but they're pretty intuitive, pretty simple. And if you make a mistake, it's pretty easy to roll with it. They're safe and clean. So it starts off with these little sticks of plastic or filament. And when it goes through the pen, they get really hot, but by the time it comes back out the end, it's just warm. So it's warm enough that you can move it around for like 10 seconds, but not hot enough that you could burn yourself on it. And the plastic doesn't really stick to anything. So you can make a mess just with little bits of plastic, but it's clean. And lastly, which I'm hoping to highlight in this presentation, they are fun and engaging. So the pens are something that kids look forward to, something that once you do once, they'll want to keep doing more and more and more. Does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff? All right. So now I'm going to model how to use a 3D pen. So you have your pen. You turn it on, that red light goes on. It takes a couple seconds for that to turn green. And once it's green, you're ready to go. On one end, you insert the filament, and on the other end, it comes out hot and a little bit thinner. So one stick of filament, which is like 4 or 5 inches long, goes about 10 times that length out of the other end of the pen. So my green light is on. I can start by just making a number 3. I like to go over things a couple times. And then I press the orange button again, and it stops. And there's my number 3. It might be a little hard to see. There's a little piece of plastic hanging off of it. So I just cut that off. And then after a couple seconds, you can just pop it out and you have your number 3. So you can write anything, you can create anything in 2-dimension and then turn it into something you can hold into 3-dimension. So there's that. You can also, the kids love to do this. If you, after you make something, you can make a little circle. And I'm going to turn this into a little ring, like that student did with the heart. But now they call this anchoring. We can put a little bit of filament on the 3. And now we have a 3 ring. A little small for my pinky, but there's that. So anything that you can write, you can turn into something that you can hold or something you can wear or attach to something else. The next thing I'm going to model here is, so I'm going to start by making a triangle. But this time, instead of stopping there, I'm going to go up. Now it does come out a little bit flexible. So I'm just going to wait here. And now, I don't know how well you can see that, but now we have the beginnings of a triangular prism. I did not let that one cool quite enough, but so we're sort of like writing in midair here, and it's creating it as we go. So there's math connections, but also just some creating and building connections. And then once you've done that, this one edge got a little bit turned, but then you have a prism, sort of, not my best work, but no pressure, right? That you can hold. So you can do that with cubes. You know, you could have the kids make the bottom face of the cube and the top face of the cube and then connect them together. And in my experience, all I had to say was like, let's make a cube or let's make a rectangular prism. And then the kids let their imagination go. So some kids made it the way I did it, where they were making the sides going up. Some kids kind of like made each face and then laid that down and connected them. We had kids like make it out of blocks and then outline it. So it's really neat to see. And like I did a little bit, you can see that for the first like 10 seconds or so, as the plastic comes out, there's you can bend it and you can move it into place. So those are 2 examples. I didn't want to spend too much time making examples. Sort of wish we were in person so we could each hold one of these pens and play around. Does anyone have any questions just about that part? I'm going to share some more things, but any questions just about kind of how to use it?
Do you want us
Does
raising
the
our
tip
hands?
get hot? Does the tip of it get hot? I'm sorry.
Not really. So like sometimes it'll double back like that, and you're just supposed to kind of peel it off so it goes into one stream. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. But no, not really hot. You know, sometimes the kids will say like it's so hot, and I'll have to say like, is it really? It's like, you know, but it's just warm. It's just warm coming out, and it cools down pretty quickly. So these are designed for, they have a couple, this brand has a couple different pens. I think these are designed for age 5 and up, might be 6 and up. So it's kind of like right in our wheelhouse as elementary school teachers. Let me just check on the chat here.
So that was what I was gonna ask, is what kind of pressure does it take? You know, is it a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old would be able to do these and make, like, write their name, or no?
Actually, I'm looking at the box here. So it says ages 6 to 13. I've got a 5-year-old at home who, with me, constant, like, so what I tell every kid, regardless of the age, is you want to write like slower and steadier than you would with a pencil. But my daughter at home can work with these pretty well. So it's really just up to kind of like the level, I guess, a little bit of level of frustration, right? We want kids to have some time to experiment with these and get comfortable. But I think that 6 to 13 is pretty on target, pretty reasonable. As an estimate for the age.
I've had second graders who've used it, and there was just a little bit of that frustration, yeah, at the beginning for the first time. Their biggest problem, and I didn't know if you had any tips on this, is that when they come back around and they're ready to lift it to move somewhere else, I guess it's just really their patience, because then it sometimes lifts their pieces up because they weren't patient enough to wait for that little connection that's still there to the pen, or they're just getting it too close to what they're writing on. So
you-
that's some of the issues that we've had.
Yeah, so you're talking about like when you stop it. So I always keep a pair of scissors handy, just in case. Because sometimes even if you stop it and then you pull it away a few seconds later, there's like that little tiny thread which could like get caught on your hand or your shirt or something. So I always just keep a pair of scissors and kind of chop it off as I go. If that's an issue for the kids.
Yeah, I think we'll try that this year.
Yeah. So that's just a quick kind of how to use them. You can change the color of the filament, but I don't usually do that. Like, so it would go in and then you have to wait for it to come out, and then you'd have to cut the end off of it so that you can use it again without jamming. I don't usually do that. I don't make a big deal out of the color of the plastic. But this student here, a few weeks ago, we were doing area and perimeter in the beginning, or like at this point in 4th grade. So one day when the kids didn't have specials, we just had them create like as many rectangles as they could with a given perimeter. And then they love taking the things that they create home. So we gave them each a little bag and they took it right home. And there's another picture of that. So I'm going to share some of the curriculum connections that we've done here at Lelick. And then we're going to come up with some that we're going to generate some ideas as a team here. So I was talking a little bit about math. Probably my favorite thing that I've done with the pens is so in the beginning of 5th grade, they spend a lot of time using the place value chart and finding 10 times the number, 100 times the number, and so on. And the way it's taught is like if our number was 32 and 5/10, and we wanted to multiply that times 100, we would move each number 2 place value digits. And then that would be our answer. And when I was growing up, the way we learned this was you just either move the decimal or add zeros, which procedurally makes sense, but doesn't actually describe like, oh, 5/10 times 10 is 50/10, so we're going to compose. So we're really shifting the digits as they get bigger, as opposed to the decimal or adding zeros. So what we did, but we also noticed that just shifting numbers with these arrows was really hard for the kids. So they would, maybe go here and then, whatever was going on, they had trouble managing it, especially as we got into thousand times bigger, etc., or, dividing also. So what we did is we had them just create the numbers with the pens. Oops. To really highlight that we're shifting the digits. Oh, whoops. Sorry, guys. Just to highlight that we're shifting the digits. So like, if you think about what I just did a minute ago, now we can show the kids like, oh, 10 times 3 tens is 300s. 10 times 300s is 3,000s. So they didn't have to worry as much about like, are my arrows in the right places? Am I erasing all that? 10 times 2 ones is 2 tens. 10 times 2 tens is 200s. And then, the same thing with the 5 tenths. So we had each kid make a set of numbers, 0 through 9, and then work through, some of the problems from the problem set, some of the problems from the homework, the concept development, whatever it may be. Not like every day, but just as a way to help them solidify that conceptual understanding. So, that's kind of, if you look on the left side of this slide, that's what I'm showing here with that place value chart. We had students make their own fraction bars, once again, not to use every day, but we gave them a piece of graph paper and said, okay, your whole is, 12 squares. What would the halves be? And then they trace those with the pens in one color. What would thirds be? What would fourths be? And what would sixths be? So it's more like the information or the value of it was in the creation of that, but they also had that to use down the line. And I just clipped a couple parts from the Eureka guides here. Just says students should have the opportunity to use tools that will enhance their understanding. That means using manipulatives, communicate to students that the journey from concrete understanding to representational understanding to abstraction is rarely linear. And I just view these pens as kind of one step on that journey. And although students are being encouraged toward more abstract reasoning, it is important to keep concrete materials around. So that's sort of the language that gave me the cover to use these, in case anyone was like, why are you using those, Matt? In reading, I thought a good application was this. So discuss the meaning of words. This is from Benchmark. Read them with students and co-create sentences. So have students create a chart that shows the words in syllables. So I just thought for some students, for some students, like having the ability to write and I know it's not perfect because we don't do a whole lot of cursive writing, and for these words we kind of have to keep the letters connected, but just working with syllables and things, I thought it would be really beneficial for kids to instead of just breaking the word apart in their minds, and then writing it down with a pencil, if their word was station like this, having them actually cut the word and then being able to move the word around, station, put it back together, station, and take it apart again. I just thought that would be really beneficial for them. Once again, as we're getting to where we want our students to be. I think I kind of take a little bit of pride in, after being on Zoom for so long, swinging the pendulum the other way to being really hands-on and really engaging in some ways that we weren't always able to do. For social studies, on the left side, we have a passage about the Boston Tea Party. What I had students do was, once they took their notes on it and did kind of the assignment the way MCPS wanted them to, I just had them draw something with the pen about the Boston Tea Party. It's pretty open-ended assignment. And it was really neat. Some people came up with tea and boats and ships, but one girl said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she had made a cat. And I was like, why'd you make a cat? And she said, I made a cat because I imagined that there was a cat on the ship somewhere. They were probably cold and scared. I would be cold and scared if someone came on my ship and threw the tea overboard. So I was thinking, like, why'd you make a cat? How is this related? And she was able to tell me in a way that showcased her imagination. And, she knew it was in December, it was in Boston, it was cold, and like, it was a big deal. And then on the right-hand side, we have from 4th grade, like natural human capital resources. What is it? And instead of writing down an example, we just had kids make an example of one of them with the pens. So if you think back to our icebreaker, like, that's the part of learning that we're remembering all these years later. So just doing it in little micro doses, I thought is a good way we can inspire our students. In science, one of the things we did is, for these 4th grade rubber band cars, there's this part where they make the car and then they go back and make it safer using different supplies. So as part of that, we said, like, you got to make your rubber band car with the cardboard and the dowels and the wheels and all that and the rubber band. And then, like, to improve it, you can use the 3D pen. So the kids were like making bumpers and all this stuff with the pen, which was kind of cool. And, maybe as these 3D printers and 3D pens get more popular and more common, like, who knows, in 30, 40 years, that might be kind of how these parts are made, things like that. For the watershed model, our 5th graders were just doing that. I haven't done it. We didn't use the pens for that, but I just thought it was like a good way to, they use paper, they use tinfoil, all those kind of things, but they could also use the pens to help create the landform and the landscape. And then for social emotional learning, this is an article from the company, so obviously they're going to make themselves look good, but in my experience, these pens have been very calming for students. So they could be something, if a kid's really struggling, just another way for them to regulate themselves and focus their energy on something more productive than whatever could be bothering them. And I can certainly speak to what's written in this paragraph, because I don't consider myself to be an artist or good at art or good at drawing. So it says, like, the 3-doodler is viewed more of a high-tech gadget than an art tool, and so is a welcome sight in the eyes of these patients. They say it's more advanced, more modern, and cooler. But it is art and they're drawing, so you have the benefits of all that. So I'm just looking at the chat here. One filament lasts, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes time-wise, or I think it's 10 times the length of the original filament. It only takes about 20 or 30 seconds to warm up. And I agree, Margaret, about the being fun for hands-on with the beginning sounds or rhyming words. Yeah, you can kind of put words together that way. So we're gonna go in breakout rooms real quick for like 3 or 4 minutes. And just think about how you could use them at your school with your students, whatever your role may be. So I'm gonna make some rooms here. Let's go into 4 rooms. Let's go into 3 rooms. And we'll be in there for 3 or 4 minutes, and I might pop into some of these. All right. Hi, welcome back, everybody. Does anybody want to share either something that a way they thought they could use them with their students, or something they thought from somebody else that was kind of special? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tony Letch. I'm a first grade teacher at Harmony Hills. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I cite words, letters, commutative property in math facts, part whole, word problems, science models. I loved the idea you had with the Boston Tea Party of taking some of like a social studies concept and having them make something physical that will link their brain to, you know, the lesson. You know, if there's a certain concept that is more abstract, and then they can draw it and make it. So these are so awesome.
Excellent. Thank you. Well put, and thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Go ahead, Brooke.
So I'm a pre-K through 5 art teacher at Forest Knolls Elementary. And I think these are really cool in a lot of ways, but sorry, somebody's dog is barking outside. I don't know if you can hear it, but just the idea that the 3D pen really fits well for like kids who are interested in drawing, and kids that are interested in 3D, and kids that are interested in jewelry making. Like it really fits a lot of boxes that kids are interested in. And I feel like they would love it. And it's also really great for like math integration in the arts as well. So having students start with tracing shapes and then creating forms and then talking about structure for how to make 3D materials. So it really goes all around for arts.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And Bernadette said in the chat, she used them with second grade to make bubble wands, which sounds amazing. So that's great. Let me just see here. Thank you everyone for participating in that. That was great. I hope you enjoyed talking to your colleagues. So getting your own, they are about $50 each, which is not cheap. I got, and the filament is around 10 or 15 cents per stick, you know, depending on how much you buy and when you get it. I applied for a grant through the MCPS Educational Foundation. That's how I got mine. But you see them all over Donors Choose, people getting them. And I didn't get mine there, but I have done things on Donors Choose, and it's been a positive experience. Or through the PTA, you can get one for 50. They have these other packs of 12 or 6. We have a pack of 12 here that come with, you know, some other things and a lot of filament. So that's that. Let me just, I'm going to send out the raffle link one last time. Please enter that so maybe you can get your own.
Matthew, I'm sorry, back on the page where you had the 3 at the bottom, what company was that from?
That
Do you
was
know?
from, let me look. I think that was from their website. Like 3doodler.com, I believe it is.
Oh, okay, okay.
The pens that I'm using here today are called the Start pen or the Start Plus. The next level up is called the Create, which I think is, I'm not sure what the ages are on that, but I think it's like a little more advanced. I got mine from NASCO, which is an MCPS vendor. And then just wanted to share this quote from the book Start With Why. There are only 2 ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. And I just view these pens as a way to inspire that behavior. You know, I think kids look forward to them. Kids genuinely like doing them. And that's that. Tiny little anecdote. I had my pile of things leaving my house this morning, and my daughter, who's 5 in kindergarten, just grabbed one and started writing with it. So I just put that on here this morning, but she really enjoyed it. And I think that just speaks to, you know, kids seeing new things, seeing things that speak to them. And these are definitely one of those. So please fill out the survey. I will also drop that in the chat. Thank you so much for coming. I will be here in through the next meeting. So if you need to, let me get you the survey first, but if you have any questions or want to chat, just stay on. And if you need anything after this meeting, you can just send me an email. My last name is Wells and I'm on Outlook. So thanks again. I enjoyed sharing something that I'm passionate about with you, and look forward to seeing you guys around in this small world that is MCPS, right? Thank you.
Can you just spell the name of the company that you got the 3D doodlers from?
Yeah, so it's like that. I've just dropped it in the chat.
Oh, it's just called 3D Doodler. Okay, because I looked it up on, I see it here on Amazon, but it doesn't sell them in sets. It only sells one.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I meant to say that they do go on sale. Like there was that Amazon day a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
and the one pen dropped down to $35. And that was on Amazon and also on the 3Doodler website.
Okay.
So I would imagine, maybe something like that for Black Friday or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's good. Yeah, because I looked at that and it's like you would need more than one, at least two, because you would want to do or three, so you could do a center.
Yeah. But one's always a place to start too.
Yeah. Thank you, though. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming.
That was very interesting.
Thanks. Thanks, Brooke.